Finally, forceful voices calling out Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and MAGA. Let's go through it together, folks. This is happening live on the floor of the Senate, the floor of the House of Representatives, and in the media. Democrats punching back. Let's go to the Senate floor first, where you've got Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, calling out Elon Musk and the billionaire oligarch class. Play it.
And in their pursuit of more power, more control, and more wealth, they are determined to not allow democracy and the rule of law to get in their way. For Mr. Musk and his fellow oligarchs, the needs, the concerns, the pain, the ideas, the dreams of ordinary people are simply an impediment to what they, the oligarchs, are entitled to. And that is really what they believe. They are entitled to all of the wealth and the power they have, and they are determined to stop anyone who gets in their way.
Bernie Sanders then talks about the games that these oligarchs play to try to distract. Let's play it.
They will use the enormous media operations they own to deflect attention away from the impact of their policies while they entertain us to death. Mr. Musk owns Twitter. Mr. Zuckerberg owns Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram. And Mr. Bezos owns the Washington Post and Twitch. Further, they and their fellow oligarchs will continue within our corrupt campaign finance system to spend huge amounts of money to buy politicians in both major political parties. Bottom line, the oligarchs, with their unlimited amounts of money, are waging a war on the working class of our country, and it is a war that they are intent on.
Speaking of distraction, here's the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, engaged in a new photo op for the photo op tour that she's engaged in, where she dresses up as different things every day. Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern on the House floor. Play it.
They care about themselves. This is about tax breaks for billionaires, giveaways for their friends, and making sure the rich and powerful never have to sacrifice a damn thing. These people don't buy their own groceries or pump their own gas. These are Fox News Nepo babies that are fine with government waste as long as they're the ones doing it. And I'm just so tired of this, Mr. Speaker. They are stealing from the American people. They do not care.
Here's Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern again. Let's play it.
The gentlelady from Minnesota, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. She says the American people voted for this. No, the American people didn't vote for higher bank fees. They didn't vote to have banks rip them off. Maybe.
Next up, you've got MAGA Republican Representative Jason Smith dismissing farmers in his state who are getting stiffed by the U.S. government not fulfilling its contracts, by Donald Trump screwing the farmers in his district. And MAGA Republican Representative Jason Smith says they deserve it. He goes, that's what they should get. They need it. We need to suffer. Here, play this clip.
But the issue is it's a signed contract. It's a legally binding contract. They're not backing out on it. They're not paying out on it. So it puts me in a bind because I've made business decisions based on that contract.
What do you say to Skylar Holden and people in that predicament?
What I would say is Congress, that the government needs to do a better job at working for the American people. Too often, it seems like the American people's working for the government. And the whole purpose of freezing and putting a hold on everything right now is to review to make sure it's working the way that Congress and the executive is supposed to implement. It's unfortunate that this is the case. I've been talking with several farmers that have been experiencing this and trying to help guide them through this process. But it's all going to work out. Right now, it's a little bit disruptive, but that's what this administration promised whenever they were coming to Washington,
So
is
when
that they would be disruptive and look at ways to make the government more efficient and working for the people.
So
Next up, you have the MAGA Republican Congress member, Steve Scalise. And here Scalise talks about basically getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid. Play it.
If Medicaid, is something going to happen there? I mean, it has expanded enormously in recent years. Is something there on the table? Could it be on the table?
Well, we're looking at different things. Obviously, work requirements in Medicaid is the place you would start. And as you pointed out, even going back to COVID, Medicaid mushroomed exponentially, adding millions more people onto the program that were not on it before, that had private insurance, other forms of insurance. And now the taxpayers of America are picking up that tab. And again, when we're running deficits, to be adding more people onto government programs and taking them off of private sector insurance, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Obviously, that was done when the government was spending trillions of dollars under the Biden-Harris administration, and that drove inflation. That drove a lot of the high costs you pay at the grocery store and other places.
Next up, friend of the show, Democratic Congress member Jared Moskowitz, calling out Elon Musk and Doge. Let's play it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today because I am deeply concerned that we are headed towards a government shutdown, which is on March 14th. And it's not about whether Democrats or Republicans would win politically, because we know the American people will lose. But let me tell you why I'm deeply concerned that we are headed to a government shutdown on March 14th. I'm worried because the Speaker has not brought the 12 individual spending bills, the way we should fund the government. In fact, the promise that was made by my Republican colleagues on how we would fund the government. Republicans have made the argument that the last election was about the status quo disappearing. It can't exist. People are fed up. They created Doge, right? Doge, which is going through the federal government and finding fraud, waste, and abuse, so they say, so they claim. But if that's true, Mr. Speaker, if Elon Musk and Doge has found all this fraud and waste and abuse, hundreds of billions of dollars, as they claim, well then, Mr. Speaker, we can't fund the government by CR anymore, because the CR would refund all of that waste, fraud, and abuse that Doge has found, which means the only way to fund the government is to fund it by individual spending bills. But we're running out of time, Mr. Speaker. We have a month before the government shuts down. We got to get back to the process of individual spending bills. If we don't, then the Speaker will be the one who will have closed the government for the American people. And so I'm concerned. I'm here to work with the Speaker on the 12 individual spending bills. Democrats are at the table to do that. But we have to be honest. We can't tell the American people we're for reducing fraud, waste, and abuse. We're for government efficiency. Look at all these things we have found. And then say, but we're going to refund them all with a clean CR. And so, Mr. Speaker, I rise to say, I'm here. I'm willing to stay weekends. I'm willing to work for the next month so that we can fund the government appropriately by the 12 individual spending bills, a promise that my Republican colleagues made. But the Speaker's got to start getting that train moving. Otherwise, he will close the government. Thank you.
In contrast, you have MAGA Republican Representative Paulina Luna, if that's even her real name. She's kind of like the George Santos of Florida, just a very malleable identity of who she really is. Here she seems to suggest that she intends to bring in members of the Warren Commission as part of her JFK investigation. Fact check, none of the members of the Warren Commission are still alive. The last living member of the Warren Commission, Gerald Ford, was the 38th president of the United States, died on December 26, 2006. But this is like the MAGA Republican distraction tour. Here, play this clip.
What sort of witnesses will you expect to have at your hearings? I know you said the first one's in March. Would that be department heads, former employees of various agencies.
Would you like to jump in? Yeah, I was going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations. There's been conflicting evidence, and I think that even the FBI at the time reported some anomalies in the initial autopsy at Bethesda, Maryland. All of those, though, seem to have been rinsed and repeated in the media to push a certain narrative that we don't agree with. And so
Next up, Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer. Play the clip.
Will you use the spending bill and the March 14th deadline to try to rein him in?
Look, here's the bottom line. The Republicans are already shutting down good chunks of the government. Democrats don't want to shut down, but it's in Republicans' hands. It's up to them.
And here is Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren talking about the damage Donald Trump and his administration is already causing by getting rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. She breaks down here what the CFPB does in case you were unsure. They protect consumers against the big banks. They protect consumers against payday loans. They protect consumers against all the boilerplate exploitive language. They protect consumers against medical debt going on your credit under the Biden administration. They protect consumers. And this is one of the first things that Trump and Musk want to gut. Why? Because they're scammy people. Trump's a fraud. Trump's a criminal. They want to hurt the industry, entities and agencies that help we the people. Here, play the clip.
If the CFPB is not there examining these giant banks to make sure they are following the laws on not cheating consumers, who is doing that job?
I can say no other federal regulator.
No one, in other words. So thanks to co-president Musk and CFPB acting director Vogt, Wall Street banks no longer have to show the bank examiners that they're not illegally opening accounts people didn't ask for, like happened with Wells Fargo, or charging illegal junk fees like the Bank of America did. But CFPB has jurisdiction only on banks that have more than $10 billion in assets. So what's happening in thousands of community banks all around the country, those that have less than $10 billion in assets? So Chair Powell, as you know, the Fed oversees consumer compliance for state member banks that have less than $10 billion in assets. Has the Fed suspended consumer compliance exams for those smaller banks, or is the Fed still on the job to make sure that those smaller banks are following consumer financial laws?
Still on the job, business as usual.
All right. By forcing the CFPB not to do its job, President Trump, Elon Musk, and the author of Project 2025, Russ Vought, are giving Wall Street banks an unlimited get-out-of-jail-free card so they can cheat working families, even while community banks continue to play by the rules. You know, for any Americans who have money deposited at JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or any other of the giant banks, they should now know that there is no one on the job to make sure that those banks are not scamming you. Only the smaller banks now have a cop on the beat to make sure that they aren't cheating consumers. You know, if I have my money in one of those giant banks, I might think about going to a smaller bank where the protection, at least right now, is a whole lot better.
There you have it, folks. Democrats fighting back. Good to see. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers together. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.